I think the job of being a teacher is so rewarding in so many ways.
The connection between you and the whole class, that's still unbeatable.
When my pupils are successful, it feels incredible.
I think the greatest thing for me is seeing the pupils that I teach love the subject as much as I do.
I don't think there's any other job where you get the same satisfaction.
That's why I chose to teach.
You could get £26,000 tax-free to train. Search Apply to Teach. Selected subjects only, subject to eligibility.
Ladies and gentlemen, podcasting since 2005. You were listening to Gamer Tag Radio with your hosts Godfrey, Pete Rock, Parris, Pasta. Come on.
Welcome to episode 476 of Gamertag Radio. I am your host, Parris, and this week we're joined by Peter.
Oh my God. It's not Danny.
Okay. Oh my God.
Danny, yes.
And of course, Patrick.
What's up, guys? That was a good introduction. I like that.
Oh,
that was very
thank you
smooth.
very much.
I didn't notice the absence of our usual host at all.
Well, let me continue and see if we can really make our normal host feel bad. So go to our website, gamertagradio.com, or you can also find the podcast on play.it. If you want to leave us an email, that email address is fanmail@gamertagradio.com. And if you want to leave us a voicemail, that number is 786-273-7GTR, extension 43. Actually, no extension. It's just 786-273-7GTR. Now, as you guys have noticed, Danny is not here. He's off on assignment, and maybe one day he'll actually be able to talk about where he is. But in the meantime, you have us three, and we're going to talk about the video games. So, gentlemen, first thing on the topic, Black Ops 3. They did a little teaser trailer for that. It's coming out April 26th. What are your thoughts, Patrick?
I gotta say, I'm kind of disappointed. I'll be honest. I was so on board the World at War II rumor train this whole way that I'd convinced myself there's no way it wouldn't be that. So this was a shock to me when I found out they actually are making Black Ops 3. I've enjoyed the past two Black Ops games. It's something I definitely can see myself playing, but I'll be honest, my hype for the new Call of Duty has dived down drastically after this announcement. Because I just feel like, with Rainbow Six at the end of this year, I already have enough modern military shooters to occupy my time. I was kind of looking forward to a throwback to World War II. So this announcement kind of bummed me out. But again, I'm sure the campaign will be amazing, as Treyarch's always done. And I look forward to seeing what they have in store for the multiplayer. So it'll be a surprise.
Well, what do you think, Pete? You're the Call of Duty guy.
I don't even know if I can call myself that anymore. Like, I'm self-reformed.
Are you that far off the way?
I really have.
Take it back up.
Unlike Poston, I'm done with the World War II phase. Like that leave that alone. We've killed that horse. We've buried it. We've dug it back up. We beat it some more. We've buried it again. I like the modern to future concept. I would have rather have them spent more time in the modern era, because they did Modern Warfare 2, and then boom, technology happened. So I do like with Black Ops where they always went back and did like the Vietnam era, which was always like that gray, dark area of America that we never talk about, like it never happened. So I like that it has some kind of a tie-in to that. I like the fact that it's going to be Treyarch, because I think Treyarch has masterfully grabbed the mantle of being the Call of Duty developer, ever since the Infinity Ward fiasco. Not saying that Advanced Warfare has been anything bad, but I think they've done a better job visually with Black Ops. Now the gameplay may have waned a little bit with Black Ops and Black Ops 2 and now with 3, but I do like the way that the marketing ploy with, hidden coded images in the game and via Snapchat and Instagram. I like how that whole thing came about. So it'll be interesting. They're sticking with the story of, Mason and what do the numbers mean and that whole thing. So it'll be interesting to see how and where that story leads. And hopefully it's not as predictable as it's become, because that unfortunately is, what's happened with the story.
I would like to see him take this opportunity to just go full Tom Clancy with the story and just make up something that's, interesting and unique, and not just, go here, do this because that's what our fans expect, or, that's what we've done in past games. But yeah, I agree. Like even, Advanced Warfare was a really fun campaign, but I was still just putting the same, skills to the test that I've used since the second one, the third one, the fourth one, the first one.
And the ending was completely predictable. Like, you saw them, you knew what was going to happen.
Yeah.
It was just a matter of time before somebody came back, and then,
Yeah. I think if any company, Treyarch definitely has the capabilities to wow us. And like you said, I think they have done the most work in time in terms of breaking new ground for the series. So expectations are all on them. All eyes are on them. And if anybody can deliver a quality first-person shooter, it's going to be Treyarch. So again, I'm sure we'll be, seeing this all over E3.
Oh, yeah. Of course.
And what is the date for the announcement? Oh, Sunday, April 26th.
Yeah, April 26th. Well, yeah, my thoughts on it is, you actually brought up an interesting point, Poston, but the fact that there were rumors about the return to World at War and the fact that they're going with Black Ops. I mean, Treyarch is the lead Call of Duty developer at this point. I mean, there's no denying that. So this is their first, we're assuming here, but their first all, next gen PlayStation 4, Xbox One, PC version of Call of Duty. And you have to think they probably got some good lessons learned from Sledgehammer with Advanced Warfare. So I want to see where they go with the multiplayer more so than the single player, because I do fully expect the single player to just be the typical cinematic, orgy, or for lack of a better term.
Yeah, it's a Hollywood blockbuster.
That's what they do. Yeah, it's a Hollywood blockbuster at this point when it comes to the campaign stuff. But what are they going to do to separate the multiplayer from what Sledgehammer did with Advanced Warfare? That'll be the big reveal, which I doubt we'll get that on April 26th. I'm assuming we won't even see that until possibly after E3, because it's typically when they reveal their multiplayer later in the summer. It's Call of Duty. We knew it was coming, so it's not a big shock. I'm curious. I'm definitely curious to see if they can pull me back in, because I'm completely out on Call of Duty at this point. It's not the franchise for me anymore. I just don't like the direction that they've gone with it. I like my shooters a little more cerebral these days. I mean, this is more of just action, big explosion, action, big explosion, rinse and repeat.
Isn't that what Destiny is?
How dare you? Oh, you almost got slapped through the microphone. Hey, you know what? Can we transition the fact that you bring up Destiny? I have to make a confession, because I haven't talked about Destiny in a few weeks, and Danny's not here, so we can talk about all the Destiny and PC we want.
Let's go.
I've not played Destiny in almost a month, and it's been on purpose. Yeah, on purpose. Completely on purpose, because in my eyes, I have every weapon except Suros. It's the only exotic weapon I don't have. I have every piece of exotic Titan gear. I have every piece of exotic Warlock gear. Unless I'm playing the PvP, there's absolutely nothing for me to do in the game right now.
And
I'm just repeating myself. And I hit that breaking point. I think it was, and they did the same strike again. They did the Mars strike in the Nightfall with no burn.
Right.
And oh my God, it was just one of the most frustrating things I've ever done playing that game, because it just took way too long. And we knew exactly what we were doing. It took so long, and then the reward I got was like coins or energy or some nonsense from the Nightfall. And I go, what the hell am I doing? I go, you know what? I'm taking a break until House of Wolves. And that's what I've done. So I'm thinking I'll probably jump back in here in the next week or so, because I'm assuming they're going to announce House of Wolves here pretty soon. So I'll get back into it, like probably right before they announce it. And then, just to get my feet wet again. But to be honest with you, as much as I love Destiny, the game as it is right now, it's not something, once you reach the pinnacle and you have every carrot you can possibly get, there's nothing to do until they bring out new content. And I know we'd even gotten an email from somebody, even I guess messing with Boston about playing again, because he hadn't seen Boston online playing Destiny again. And I'm just thinking in my head, I'm like, yeah, I ain't been playing it either. So I love the game. I'm not going to give up on it, because obviously House of Wolves is coming out. I'm going to play that. And when that Common expansion comes out, I'm obviously definitely going to be playing that in September. And, Activision is already committed to tons of Destiny content coming, in 2016. And then obviously we'll probably see Destiny 2 probably holiday next year or something like that. So I mean, Destiny's not going anywhere. It's definitely that open world shooter, shared co-op experience that, I've always wanted. And then we'll see what the Division's going to be later this year as well. But right now they're in a tough spot because I think they're transitioning the game to what it can be long term right now and fixing a lot of the gripes that we had when it came out. So we'll see. So I purposely took a break, and I've been playing a lot of other games that it was in my back catalog, and I'm all the better for it. So I'm good.
Well, I think the early word is, I think the original word was sometime mid-May, more likely going to be pushed out to June from everything that I've read.
Right.
I haven't taken the extreme break like you have. I literally only play on Tuesday nights to jump into the raid. We literally did 3 raids last night in 2 hours. Or the other night in 2 hours. And once that's done, it's like I back out, I'm out. I'm like, good night. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, and that's part of my thing is
I think we burnt ourselves out, if anything.
I can't stand Crota. I think Crota is just cheap. I think it's a cheap raid. I think.
Oh, it's better than Atheon, though, in your opinion, right?
Oh no, I love Atheon.
Really, I hate.
I love
the
it.
old Atheon, but new Atheon. Ooh,
if anything, I would love to see them take Atheon and put it at level 32, and I would keep playing it because that raid I'm fine with. I love the game mechanics built into that raid, but the Crota raid is garbage. Once I got all the primary weapons, I was like, I'm done. I'm not playing this ever again. I think that Crota raid on hard mode, they just made it artificially hard. There's no real challenge to it. It's just, we made it a level higher than what you are. So they just built in that artificial barrier. And it's so based on one person and their timing that if there's even the tiniest glitch when you're trying to take down Crota, it ends the whole thing. It's stupid. If they do anything close to that in the raid for House of Wolves, I will question my loyalty to this game. But I think they know that, though. Look, I won't name names, but I may or may not have spoken to a certain Bungie employee offline, and they share my frustration. So I'll just leave it at that.
That's good. Wow. I look forward to playing it for House of Wolves with you guys.
But you know what? There's a lot more games coming out this summer. Actually, another month or two, or actually another month and a half. Was it 5 weeks from now? We got Witcher 3 coming out. So.
Oh God! Don't even
again. I know we're going off the script of topics, but let me jump in on that. So we joked about this being PC radio since Danny's not here, but let me just take a second to talk about the PC I'm building and why I'm building it
and why it's better than anything you could ever build. Be confident, Parris.
No, I'm not going to say that.
Okay.
No. I'm building this PC for The Witcher 3. I'm literally doing it for that because I want to play it on Ultra. So I'm staring at the parts right now. I am a GPU short of actually being able to build it. And so far, I have the Z97 gigabyte UD5H Black Edition motherboard. I have a 4790K i7 processor. I got 16 gigs of RAM. I have 2 SSD drives. I have a Corsair liquid cooling. I have an NZXT H440, and like I said, I just need a GPU, and I've gone back and forth on what I'm going to get, but I finally settled on I'm just going to go get a 980, and I'm just going to rock this thing for Witcher 3 and Ultra, and I'm going to love it. I'm going to do it in 1080p for the short term, but by the end of the year, I'm going to get a 4K monitor, and I'm going to get another 980 SLI, that bad boy, and I'm going to start gaming in 4K.
See,
that's my long term.
And that's something that you and I have been discussing over the past week. You never mentioned the fact that you were going to get a second 980 and go SLI to do the 4K, because it always came across that you were just going to have that 980 doing 4K, and I always had in the back of my mind, there's no way by itself that the 980 is going to be able to do a consistent, strong 60 frames 4K. Now that you're saying that you're going to get a second card, that makes all the more sense.
And that's why. I mean, the 4K element is why. Because at first I was just going to go 970. I just kept thinking 970 is good enough to be able to do, 1080p over 60 frames per second, ultra settings for anything I want to do. If it's not, I can go get a second 970, SLI it, and I know I'll be fine in 1080p or even 1440p. But if I want to go all the way to 2160p, which is 4K, yeah, I got to go 2 980s right now. I mean, I know some people probably email in and say, "Oh, why don't you just get a Titan X?" Look, I ain't got that kind of money. Okay, I'm scraping pennies as it is trying to get these 980s.
And honestly,
so.
if you can get a Titan, you could just get 3 980s and you're done.
Exactly. Exactly.
And you could do it all SLI, and then you could do the true surround where you put your monitors like vertical, and then do 4K surround, and then you're balling. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But I mean, that's by the end of the year. That's my goal. And then just since we're on the PC talk, my secondary goal in November, when all this stuff comes out, I'm going to get the Steam Link box. I'm going to throw that out on my 60-inch 4K TV out in the family room, and I'll be streaming games from my main TV out to my living room. So I'll have PC gaming everywhere. And I'm going to get a Steam controller too. I don't expect Steam controller to replace using an Xbox One controller or keyboard and mouse, but I'm interested in it to see if the learning curve is steep enough that I'll give up on it, or is it something that I could get used to and eventually start playing things like Civilization, all that out in my family room, sitting on the couch. That's how I view the Steam controller. If it can have me play traditional keyboard and mouse games in my living room as I sit on my couch, then it wins.
I'd like to see how that thing handles MOBAs and or arena shooters. Right.
If we're talking like Quake, I don't know if I haven't held one, so I can't think about it. But like in terms of a mouse precision for a Twitch shooter, I just don't.
I would like to see how that works with something like Overwatch. Or
I can get Civilization and like Portal, where it's a relaxed game. You have all the time you want to kind of figure out what you want to do. But anything with like a hard time limit or people trying to kill you, that would be tough to adjust. But I agree with Parris. Like, there's definitely gonna be that learning curve, but how long will it be? I had say a 1 week learning curve when I first started using arcade sticks for fighting games a couple of years ago. And I know a lot of people that they couldn't make it that week. They played a day. They're like, oh, I'm terrible at this. I'm never using this again. So that learning curve is everything. And especially something like this that really hasn't been tried before. But I trust Valve to make, if they're going to go through with making this product, I think it'll be a good product. So it's definitely something in the future I would be interested in if I ever get around to building a PC, because I like what I see about it, but I just don't see it replacing a mouse and keyboard for the majority of things I'd play.
Well, I'll say again, when we interviewed Jeff Keighley, we touched on it a little bit, but that podcast that Jeff Keighley did with Gabe Newell, and Gabe just basically explained Valve's vision and where they're headed and what they're trying to do. Like I said, I'm willing to give it a shot. Look, if the controller sucks, I will say the controller sucks, but it's something different. Sometimes you got to think outside the box. You look, like you said, you look at it and you're like, there's no way this can work, but why not? I'm willing to give it a shot and see if it's something that can work for me. Now, and Pete brought up the great point as well. I want to get into MOBAs. I've dipped my toe in the League of Legends and in Dota and things like that. But, I would love to be able to get into like Gigantic's about to come out. I guess Smite is out right now, things like that. And what's the other one? Overwatch, so yeah. So it's like, I want to start getting into these type of games and playing them. Even, the one you and I lust over, Pete, Star Citizen. I want to get into stuff like that too. That's the type of things when I talk about PC gaming. I know I joke around with Danny and stuff and, Master Race and all that nonsense, but it's just the other genres of gaming that PC gaming will allow. These are the things I want to get more heavily into. Like, I've been playing the Talos Principle. It's not out on console. I believe there's a rumor it's coming out on PlayStation 4 at some point this year. But that's like the Serious Sam guys made it. That's like it's Portal 3, basically. I don't know any other way to describe it. It is a first-person puzzler in the Portal vein, and it's freaking fantastic. I love it. And that dog thinks the same thing, too, because I hear him. But yeah, but that's why I talk about PC gaming so much. And I'm lucky enough that I'm able to build this high-end rig that I know will be able to play things on a high level for years to come. So that's just the way I want to go.
Welcome to Play It, a new podcast network featuring radio and TV personalities talking business, sports, tech, entertainment, and more. Play it at play.it.
This is Gamer Tag Radio. Voicemail 786-2737-GTR.
Oh, no. Well, speaking of Witcher 3, I know Witcher 3 just announced their Wild Hunt expansions. Game's not even launched, already talking about expansion packs here.
Yeah, well, we've gotten so used to that now, but I really appreciated their stance on it. But
well, here's the thing. They've got two separate things. And I know the early word out from last year when they first started, when CD Red started talking about it, they're like, okay, well, DLC is going to be free. So they've got they've got a totally different concept of what everybody else is expecting from them. DLC from them will be free, but expansions, which are much larger. We're talking 10 to 20 plus hours, I think, for the second one. They're saying that Heart of Stone, which is going to be a $10 expansion, is going to be somewhere around the 10-hour mark, where Blood and Wine is going to be 20 to 25 hours of additional story and content that expand the actual game, not just a quick, not like, for example, the strike and 2 weapons and an extra thing here and there from Destiny, where it actually expands upon the story. And they're actually doing an expansion pass, which is $25, which will allow you to have access to both. Now, you need that if you're going to get both, or you can just pay for them separately, but you save money by buying the pass. So I like that they're doing both. They're giving free downloadable content to people who play the game. So if you don't have the extra cash floating around, you're not stuck with just the game. Granted, it's going to be 100 and something plus hours minimum anyways to beat it, but I like what they're doing with the game and so far, and I can't wait. I'm like Parris. I'm counting pennies, skimping on meals. No more 2-piece and extra sparkle from Popeyes, just so I can, build up my PC and make it better so it can barely handle it.
Yeah. Well, and that's the other thing too, again, which prompted me to want to go ahead and build a new PC, is this is one of the first PC games where I feel it's actually going to be pushing the GPU. I mean, I guess some reporters in Europe have got a chance to play it, and they did mention, like, literally the specs that I'm talking about on the PC I want, that's what they played Witcher 3 on. And yeah, at 1080p ultra settings, they got 60 frames per second using a 980. So that just goes to show you right there, how demanding, this game's going to be on a graphical level. But going back to what you're saying about the expansion packs and what CD Projekt Red stance on DLC is, even if you don't buy these expansion packs, the 16 pieces of DLC that they promise, those are still going to be free. Whether it be on Xbox One, PlayStation 4, or on a PC, we're still going to get those. It's just that they're announcing we're extending the story out into, these bigger expansions. You're going to have to pay for it. And you know what? They're the type of developer, if they're asking for my $25 and they're promising that I'm going to get another 30 hours of entertainment out of this game, I just threw my money at the screen. Take it all, because I know it's going to be a good experience. I just know I have that confidence in them. Until they let me down, I have confidence that developer will deliver on what they're saying. So yeah, just bring it. I'm excited for it. What about you, Pawson? Because I have no idea your thoughts on Witcher, because you haven't talked about it a lot. If you're going to get it, is this something you want to play on console or PC, or what are you thinking?
I mean, ideally, yeah, PC would be fantastic because, like you said, having the guaranteed 60 FPS and 1080p or prospect for 4K among the mods of other things. But no, I'm going to get it on PS4. Whatever it runs. It's fine. I've certainly played a multitude of large open world RPGs on consoles before, and it really felt like I was being cheated by the fact that it wasn't as good as its pre-C older brother. But I'm very excited about Witcher 3 because after seeing it 2 years in a row at E3 and watching gameplay, I haven't played it personally, but it just so hits all of the bullet points in my mind of like what I've always kind of wanted out of a next-gen fantasy RPG, kind of like what Peter Molyneux kind of used to promise us with Fable combined with, Elder Scrolls. And they really do seem like they're creating a world that's propelling me, to go explore, but also it's dangerous too. So it has that aspect where it's not just, a nice stroll through the woods. Everything around you is hostile. You're hunting monsters. I liked how they phrased it where, like the story is not about you. You were just like one small driving force and basically a whole country at war with each other. So I love the way they're describing it. I like their stance on DLC. I really liked how they name checked Morrowind's Blood Moon and Tribunal add-ons is what they're kind of alluding to of when they used to make expansion packs for console games years ago, and now we've completely fallen off of that bandwagon. So I'm happy to hear that not only they're going to support their game with the free content, because I fully believe it's worth the $60, no question. I'm sure there'll be unbelievable amounts of content in the base game. And definitely that's kind of the game I will be playing, coming back to again and again and again, because it's an RPG, and you're guaranteeing that you're going to have that content, pretty much probably when I'm going to be hitting the finish line of, okay, I think I'm done. New stuff's about to come out. Oh, wait, Hearts of Stone's going to come out. That's good timing, good marketing. This seems like something that's going to hook me for quite a while, which is surprising because as a person who tried the first and the second one and thought it was okay, boy, did they sell me on the third one.
So,
I still haven't even played it yet, but just everything I've seen and the gameplay I have seen just completely, enchants me.
I'm glad you brought up the first and second one because me, myself, I've never played any of them. And I wonder, will that help or hinder me going into 3? Should I pick up 1 and 2 and try to waste my life and put additional hours into that if it's not going to make a difference going into 3?
No. And the developers themselves have come out and said that they've made Witcher 3 because they understand a lot of people have not played the first 2. Because you got to think of it this way. If you only play on PlayStation, you've never played a Witcher game because it's never been on the PlayStation. This is the first one that's been on PlayStation 4. And even going back to Witcher and Witcher 2, I was a Witcher 2 on 360? I can't remember.
Witcher 2 was only on 360, yep.
Yeah. So unless you're an Xbox guy or PC guy, you probably haven't experienced the first 2 anyways. Now, I've played Witcher 2, the Enhanced Edition. I've never played the first one. I only jumped into Witcher once they actually fixed some of the fighting mechanics, and I played it on PC, and I'm fine. But the way the developers have explained it is they've set up Witcher 3 to be a great entry point for new gamers into the series. So it sounds like they're going to recap a lot of stuff for people like you, Pete, that have never played it and have no idea what the story is. So you can just jump right in and start playing. I would liken it almost to a way of when Mass Effect 2 came to the PlayStation. And you couldn't play Mass Effect 1 on PlayStation. Right. So they had like that, you had like a comic or something to kind of give you a recap of what happened in the first Mass Effect. So then you're all caught up to where you needed to be in Mass Effect 2 and you could just go on from there, something like that. So I think you'll be fine playing Witcher 3.
Okay.
Just doing that from day one. And you probably should just play it on Xbox, Pete. I'm just going to say that now.
Wow.
Here's why. Because it sounds like if you want it on Ultra, you're just gonna need to build a new PC.
Oh, that's already in the plans. I've already gotten approval from management, I think, to do that. And I heard that if I'm gonna do it, if I'm gonna play Witcher 2, I'm supposed to install some combat balance mod or something. That's
what I'm talking about. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. They came out with a mod to fix the combat. And that's the only way I've ever played it. So I don't know how it played before. And it was fine. It was still a little clunky, but, a little bit of a learning curve. And that's the other thing about the Witcher games. They're not easy. Ooh, so don't expect you're just going to run through it like you would do on Skyrim or something. It's definitely.
I never played Skyrim either. So, this is all new territory, man. Come on.
Well, here, you know what? Before we transition into another game that I'm very excited about that got leaked this week, with Bethesda having that press conference on Sunday night before E3, call me crazy. I know you can probably gonna say I'm crazy. Look, Miss Cleo has her reading. Fallout 4 is going to come out next spring.
I could believe it.
I don't think they're going to announce Fallout 4 and then we have to wait until holiday 2016 to play it. I think it's a spring 2016 game.
That would be big. Especially in this era where we're
now, Pete, if you say you haven't played any of the Fallout games, then I'm just disconnecting from the podcast because I'm the host and I have the power. Lie. Lie to me.
At least 3.
I put an hour and a half into. I think it was 4, and then I gave up.
Well, you did. You went into the future, huh? You got.
Is it 4 or 3? Whatever. I don't even know, dude.
He means New Vegas. Is what he means.
I think that's what it was. Yeah. I don't know. You start off in the cave or something like that. I haven't put a lot of time into it. My son, though, my son has
runs me out to Parris.
It's funny because my son has put mod. I think there's a total of like 14 or 15 mods that he's put on his desktop here at the house. It's hilarious. Like it makes it look like you're watching it in real life, like you're watching it in 240 hertz, and watching him play it through the window. But it runs so slowly because he drops it to a crawl because there's so many mods running on top of it. That is really cool. And I like the fact that you can do that. But I don't know, man. It just, that game just doesn't do it for me.
It's hard to describe what the appeal is because it's such, Fallout 3 to me is such like it's a relic of its time period, because when it came out in 2008, that was like mind blowing if you're a console gamer, what it allowed you to do. And initially that, like you said, you couldn't get out of the cave, but like once you walk out that cave and you would eyes adjust to the light and you realize you can go anywhere in the Capital Wasteland, that's the money shot right there. That's the whole reason that I'm now considering myself a Fallout fan, because I never even really played the first two on PC, because that was years ago when, back when I didn't even play those kinds of games. But yeah, I mean, 3 made me believer. I love New Vegas. I'm all on board for 4. So I think this is one of those games you just kind of have to just pick up and just stick with it. It's probably, The Witcher's going to be the similar thing where like The Witcher 3 will probably be very difficult at the beginning, but like once you get over that hump and probably, opens up the rest of the world, I don't know how they're going to design it. But like, that's usually the part where you're like, okay, now I'm invested. I'm not being led anywhere. I want to go to these places. And that to me is the appeal of the Fallout games, the Elder Scrolls games, and now Witcher 3. So I'd go back and try a nice PC version of 3. I wouldn't mod it too much. I played the vanilla version. I think if you overburn those games, you kind of suck out what makes them unique. But that's just me as a console gamer, in my opinion.
Yeah, my suggestion, Pete, would be go ahead and play Witcher 3. And if you really dig that open world style and you really like it, go back and play Skyrim or Fallout. That would be my
better
my
appreciation of it after I've played.
Right. Yeah. Well, I know people are probably rolling around. It's like, oh, these guys, where's Danny at? Why is there no Xbox or PlayStation? No, but going to another game that came out or was announced this week. It was initially leaked, and then Game Informer had the full-on reveal. Deus Ex. Deus Ex, Mankind Divided.
Hold on, heart palpitations.
Yeah, the sequel to Human Revolution, which, by the way, one of the best games of the last generation. So if you've not played it, I definitely suggest you go find it on your console or PC of choice and check it out. It's a great game. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm assuming this is coming out this year, this holiday. So I'm really looking forward to it.
You think it'd be crowded out by other things in November? Like, what do you think would be a good
Well, we know it won't be crowded by anything on the PlayStation because there ain't nothing.
I guess I was thinking more third party. I've never that.
No, I mean, of what we know of third party right now, I mean, you got Witcher in May, Batman in June, and then we got things like Halo, we got Tomb Raider, Call of Duty, Battlefront. I think there's a spot for it. I could see this as a September, early October game. That would work. Yeah.
I guess I'd have to see gameplay to see how far they are along in it. But it's interesting you pointed out how much you enjoyed Human Revolution. A full disclaimer: I bought that game on 360, played it a couple of days. I generally didn't like it, which was really shocking to me because I was a huge fan of the first 2 Deus Ex games, and I just couldn't figure out like what Human Revolution didn't have that I was wanting. And I think it was just like how heavily the stealth was kind of biased in that favor of that was kind of the preferred way to play.
Right.
The minute I started shooting things, all hell broke loose and I got my ass kicked. And after repeating that a couple of times, being like, oh man, this is really punishing me for not playing it the way it wants me to, I had to step out and sell the game. But this, I mean, they really didn't even show any gameplay, but just the trailer and the design and the story they're trying to tell. This is what would suck me back in. Obviously Human Revolution did well. They're making a sequel to it. It's a direct sequel. You're still playing as Adam Jensen. But, whatever gameplay innovations they're going to add to this, that's probably like targeted towards me as the person that fell off the Human Revolution because I just couldn't vibe with what it wanted me to do. But that's interesting to hear your counterpoint, how much you liked it.
That's the problem I had. I liked how the game played in Human Revolution. The way the trailer plays out, and if you haven't seen the trailer, press pause on the podcast, go to YouTube.
Stop what you're doing.
Watch the trailer. The trailer is 3.5 minutes of beauty. Like just it's the storyline wrap up. It shows you where the game is headed story wise. But some of the things, if I can't do some of those things that Adam Jensen does, right? I don't show them to me in a trailer. Honestly, I mean the additional augmentations that you get, the transhumans and how they've all evolved, and it's if you don't give me the opportunity to do some of those things that they show in the trailer, you're ruining my expectation for the title. And I have a high expectation for it because ever since Eidos Montreal brought that game back, was it 4 years ago? It's brought the title back up to that high level status, and is Adam Jensen like the new steampunk version of like Solid Snake now? Or Cyberpunk.
It's funny you say that. God, it's someone. Yeah, I forget who it was, but I saw that today. Someone was comparing it to this is maybe Kojima will take over the Deus Ex franchise.
He's like the new Solid Snake for 2015. I don't know. I've got a lot of expectations, especially based on that trailer. I know the trailer's all CGI. There's no actual gameplay.
Yeah.
But wow. It's impressive.
Oh yeah, I'm sure this will get a big blowout at E3, and hopefully there'll be some hands-on at the booth or behind closed doors or something so we can check it out. But I'm looking forward to it. I hope it comes out this year. I really do. If not, early next year.
It'll be. I think it's going to be 2016. I'm going to go counter.
That just seems more like a spring release game to me, but that's just my view on it.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. But yeah, definitely, like Pete said, if you've not checked out that trailer, go check it out. I think it'll definitely get you excited.
Oh yeah,
I want to check out some Deus Ex, and I'll say this again. For my PC brothers and sisters, it's an easy find on the PC. Download and play the original Deus Ex. It's still to this day one of the best games you can ever play.
Welcome to Play It, a new podcast network featuring radio and TV personalities talking business, sports, tech, entertainment, and more. Play it at play.it.
Voicemail 786-2737-GTR.
Moving on, and I know we're starting to run a little limit on time, so I'm going to skip a couple topics and not make this fully just the PC show. But I know. But there was a rumor I saw on NeoGAF this morning, and I know some people were talking about it on Twitter as well. I don't know if it's been shot down yet or not, but a French site listed the Uncharted Trilogy for the PlayStation 4 coming this September. Now, first, let me say this. It's a rumor. Highly doubt if this does happen, it'll come out in September. Secondly, it wouldn't shock me if this is real on some level. Third thing I'll say is all Sony good for now is making remakes, because last year we had The Last of Us. We're already getting God of War this summer. And then if this happens as well, can we please just get an original game? That's all.
No, I completely agree, man. In my opinion, I don't think they need updates. I think they're perfect games on the PS3. Why do you want slightly higher resolution frame rate on the PS4? The Last of Us, I understood. That game did feel limited by the hardware because it came out at the end of the life cycle. But 1, 2, and 3, I mean, it showed a great evolution of what you could achieve on the same console with a very talented team, and it worked. Like, why? I agree. I'm totally so done with all these HD remakes of all these games I've already played before.
But here's the argument they're going to make. They're going to say, we're going to give it to you in 1080p, 60 frames per second. And this is for all the old Xbox 360 gamers that have now bought a PlayStation 4 that never got to experience Uncharted.
Perfect for a holiday
That's going to be
bundle.
the argument. Exactly.
Perfect holiday
That's
bundle
going to be the argument.
to lead into the Uncharted 4 right in the spring. So it gives you time to play, the trilogy from, November-ish on through January, February, March, and then boom, all of a sudden Uncharted 4 shows up, and then Naughty Dog's they come back into the good graces. One counter to the alleged ad, it has been pulled, but somebody on Reddit did say that the artwork was a user created one from a different post on the internet, so it kind of takes some legitimacy away from what could potentially be this. There hasn't been any true confirmation either from PlayStation or Naughty Dog, so it take it with a large grain of salt.
No, fair enough. And like I said, chances that this is realistically happening are slim, but I just thought it was something interesting to talk about, because you have to think, if Uncharted 4 was scheduled to come out this year, there was no way they were also going to put out Uncharted remake this year as well. And there's no way that they would have a development team be able to get it ported over and working properly in such a short amount of time. So the chances of this being real are slim. The chances of us eventually seeing an Uncharted remake trilogy on the PlayStation 4, I think it's going to happen. Just not this year, though. I brought it up because it brings up the fundamental problem that we're seeing this generation. It's more about, hey, let's get our old games updated to 1080p and a higher frame rate on the new consoles versus instead of making proper sequels and or original IPs. And that's been my biggest sticking point that I've seen here in this new generation so far. It's not been innovative enough, in my opinion. It's been more about how much money can we make? Which, again, I understand it's a business and that's the bottom line. Let's make some money. But also, people want to say that video games are art, right? That these developers are artists and they're creative geniuses. We're not seeing it yet.
Yeah.
And again, my personal opinion, I thought Titanfall was going to be that first game, right? Turns out it didn't meet up to that expectation level. It just wound up being a very solid shooter, which is fine. I think The Witcher has a chance of being that first game to come out and actually pull it off. If not them, maybe Batman fully realizing its open world, with Gotham City. After that, I don't know.
Solid 5, I think, has a shot.
Yeah,
but it's going to be difficult, and it's going to be Japanese, so you have to know that going into it.
Yeah, which, you know what, and Pete, please jump in and comment, but you just brought up an excellent transition. But before we do that, Pete, anything you want to say on this? Okay. I should have never asked you that. But a great transition into Kojima and the fact that one of the actresses that did some voice talent on Metal Gear Solid 5 came out and basically said, yeah, Konami fired him. I think the truth lies somewhere in the middle, but saying that does not surprise me that on some level, yeah, Konami kind of pushed him out.
Yeah, I think they messed up on that level, but I wouldn't go as far as using the F word for firing because he is who he is. But yeah, I agree. I think something went down that shouldn't have gone down, and I feel like even Konami's kind of regretting what they've done because the PR fallout has been so massive, and they've had to be basically just covering themselves because they're trying to keep it a business secret as it should be. But when you're on this level, this is like Miyamoto supposedly being fired from Nintendo. This is huge. You're talking about one of the modern icons of game design, and saying something like this, even the relationship she probably has close to the team, like you said, it's probably not that far off, but it just makes me feel bad that there probably is so much red tape in the game design today's because of the multi-million-dollar industry it's become, and the side effects are you have victims like this where it's always the geniuses that get burned the most because they're always the ones with the most, the greatest vision, but then that vision has to be tempered greatly by the fires of business and marketing and what makes sense and what makes money, what works better for the company moving forward. So it just still bums me out to listen to this news because I like Kojima so much and I wish him the best and I wish he didn't have to. I wish his game would at least come out first and then he can separate from Con if he needs to. But it just feels bad that they're still working on this and it has a stigma attached to it that is it still Kojima making it? The same problem Silent Hills has right now. It's kind of in a strange development hell of we're not really sure who is in charge.
But there's actually that the difference to that is there is a 5 coming out versus we don't know what's going to happen with Silent Hill.
Yes, we don't know.
And the way they approach the whole situation, I know we've covered this in a previous show, so if you want to check out our thoughts on that, you can you can listen to our past show. But they did yank his name off of everything, and then after the fallout happened, with PR and marketing, that's when they said, okay, well, we'll put his name back on the older stuff, but we're going to stick to our guns with the new title. So. It's interesting how that whole thing, is playing out, and I guess the truth will come out eventually. And I want to go from there, from somebody getting fired or leaving, and that kind of ties into another major name leaving a big company, and that's Danny's best friend, Don Mattrick. He is he's leaving Zynga. He's done. He's out. And he's leaving with $15 million as pay and bonus.
Man, what a great settlement.
What kind of golden parachute? That's not even golden. That's a platinum diamond studded parachute.
And you get a backup reserve diamond parachute. That's
blood diamond parachute. If that. I don't know. What do you think, Parris? What are your thoughts on Danny's best friend here?
I'll simply refer to, you know, my Facebook fuddy. Oh my God. my Facebook buddy, Jeff Bell, who used to work at Microsoft. He had some strong comments for him on Facebook today and just simply said that the guy never had an original idea. He basically fed off of other people, and it seems like, hey, once again, he did the same exact thing. He bailed on Microsoft, which either he left on his own or he was forced to go after leaving the whole Xbox division in shambles, goes to Zynga, ruins that company, and gets $15 million for it. Wow. Can I have his job, please? Please? I mean, I would love to be able to just go from company to company, stacking millions of dollars and just leaving waste, you know, behind me as I go out the door. It's amazing.
And that's the best part is I love this quote is like, I am excited about the company's trajectory and wish the best of luck for Mark, Zynga, Natural Motion as I plan to return to Canada to pursue my next challenge, he said in a statement. This is a challenge to him. He really does like it.
Yeah, he's like, what company can I ruin next?
What can I infiltrate next?
It's just interesting.
I mean, think of this too. I'm sorry, Pete, to cut you off. Even wasn't he the head of EA when they were getting all the awards for being the worst company? Mm-hmm. Wow. So EA, Xbox, Zynga. Look, PlayStation better watch it. Nintendo better watch your backs because it's getting crazy right now. That's all I'm saying.
I just think that the crazy part is Mark Pincus came back after leaving for a while. It's kind of like he saw everything going downhill and he was like, I can't let my baby go down in flames. You're getting Das Boot and I'm coming back. I got to come back and save my kid, you know? And it's,
yeah. It's almost like how Steve Jobs had to come back to Apple to save Apple. Exactly. And it was heavily rumored that Bill Gates was going to come back.
Right. Excellent, you know, analysis there. I like that.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that. It's wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. I think I have one more PC thing, and then we need to do
not enough PC.
We need to do a review.
This is our last chance. We're not going to get any more chances quick. Like this to just load it up.
I know, because look, Danny probably edited all this out anyways. It's probably, you know, but when you guys hear this episode, it's probably going to be welcome to Gamertag Radio. All right, Xbox. Okay, see you guys next week. And I'm Mattrick. We're out. And that's going to get. But
he's going to release all of this other content as blooper footage.
No, what did you say in the chat? You said Danny's going to edit it, and he's just going to cut to stock Major Nelson.
Yes.
This week on Xbox, we got some great news for you.
Boom.
Oh, man. No, but just one last thing. Grand Theft Auto 5, the PC version is about to come out, and it's being heralded as the definitive version. The people that have had a chance to play it so far, they set them up on 4K displays at 60 frames per second, ridiculous PC specs to get it running. But they're saying, you know, the average person, you know, the specs are pretty modest to be able to play it at 1080p at 60 frames per second, or 30 frames per second, I should say. So average person shouldn't have any issue playing it on the PC. But it seems that the biggest change and the biggest thing that's going to stand out is the fact that video editor is coming to the PC version, and you're basically going to be able to record and edit all the shenanigans that you're going to get into while playing this game. So I just think the YouTube videos are going to be epic that we're going to see coming from this. And I will say this. Thank you, all you freaking enablers on Twitter. Dude, just get it. Just get it. It's okay if you triple dip. Oh, here, look, Parris. Parris, look at this video. Ooh, you know, you're not going to get me. Look.
Really? Still, you're not?
Oh, if someone wants to give me the game, hey, on Steam, I'm Vicious696. If you want to give it to me, I'll take it. But I'm not triple dipping. I'm not buying this game. You will not get me to do it.
Wow, that's crazy. It's like, to me, from an outsider's perspective, I look at that, you know, ultimate version of GTA 5. I'm super jealous. I mean, I stuck with the PS3 version. I played it. I loved it. Passed on PS4. I see this footage. I'm like, that's a brand new freaking game at this point. I feel kind of slighted that I played a beta version of it, but I'm happy for PC owners. I'm glad they're finally getting it. You know, it took forever to get it to them. It looks like it's going to be exactly the way they want it. And it just like kills me, Parris, that you, of all people that's building a new badass PC, does not care about this.
No. I care a lot about it.
But you just don't want to buy it again.
But my point is, I bought the PlayStation 4 version and I don't play it. So why don't I play the game I already own versus going buying another version? It's just look, it's the principalities in this, you know?
Of course.
But no, I think if you've not played Grand Theft Auto 4 on Xbox One or PlayStation 4 and you have a PC, I would definitely suggest to go get this. It really looks like it's going to be like they said, the ultimate version.
Oh yeah, and play. If you haven't played GTA 5 yet, you're in for such a treat. Man, that was a great game.
Pete, any comments?
I can't. I know last week you were like, "Oh, I'm a triple dip," and you're bouncing back and forth. You're likely going to change your mind again by next week, anyways, and or you'll find somebody to get you the game.
No, and honestly, I was joking around. Please, no one gift me the game. Don't do it, because if I get it, I'm going to spend my own money on it, which I know I shouldn't. So that's the point. I should not be buying this game. It's irresponsible of me to buy this game. That's all I'm saying.
Buys the game.
All right.
But before we run out of time, Poston, you did a review on Bloodborne. So I say we cut to that right now, and then we'll be right back.
All right.
Welcome to Play It, a new podcast network featuring radio and TV personalities talking business, sports, tech, entertainment, and more. Play it at play.it.
This is Gamer Tag Radio. Voicemail 786-2737-GTR.
Hey, GTR. Patrick here. And I'm finally back with the review you've all been waiting for. That's right, I'm talking Bloodborne for the PlayStation 4. Now let me preface this review with a little disclaimer first. Bloodborne is a difficult game. A very difficult game. A game that I'm not ashamed to say has kicked my ass so many times that I not only exhausted every word of profanity in the English language, but I'm pretty sure I made up some new ones along the way as well. But of course, like everyone else, I expected it to be tough. After all, my brief fling with Dark Souls proved to me that I was venturing far from my comfort zone. However, what I didn't expect was that as I played, and more importantly, as I got better, Bloodborne transformed itself from an insurmountable task to the best game I played on PS4 to date. Bold statement? Of course, but let me ask you this. When was the last time you played a game that challenged you to learn an entirely new set of skills? A game that doesn't simply run you through the paces of tried and true gameplay tactics that you've used countless times before. Bloodborne is unique in that it takes all of that knowledge and all of those skills that you've mastered over the years and just straight suplexes them right out the window. Now, you start off your adventure by making your character and choosing your starting stats. The character creation system is surprisingly deep, and you can customize a large range of features and sliders a la Elder Scrolls or Fallout. Stats are broken down into factors like strength, vitality, endurance, magic, and so on. You can increase one stat by 1 point every time you level up. To level up, you have to collect what's called blood echoes. These are obtained from killing enemies and finding items. You must then travel back to your hub world, called the Hunter's Dream, which you can reach by lighting new lampposts as checkpoints along the way. These teleport you back to the hub. You can use these blood echoes to level up in the dream world. If you die, though, before you spend the echoes, you lose all of them, but you're given the opportunity to retrieve all of them back as well if you can reach the spot where you died or kill the enemy that killed you. Now, if you die in the attempt, however, your blood echoes are gone for good, and you'll have to try and recover whatever echoes you had on you when you died the second time around. The other cool twist of blood echoes is that they doubles the game's currency as well. You can spend echoes to buy health items, ammunition, new weapons, new armor, and so on. This creates an interesting conflict of having to decide which is more valuable for the task at hand, stocking up on useful items, or investing the points to become stronger. But an RPG is nothing without its combat, and this is where Bloodborne shines. Combat is broken down into melee and ranged options. You can carry a melee weapon in one hand, and a gun in the other at the start of the game. This gives you a nice speed and distance advantage over your foes, but the kicker here is that every single melee weapon in Bloodborne can transform, changing its speed, shape, and damage on demand. This is a brilliant feature because it allows you to change your tactics on the fly and adapt quickly to the multitude of monstrosities trying to kill you. Some of these transformations include extending your one-handed axe to a two-handed axe, combining your sword with its scabbard to form a giant greatsword,
and transforming a cane into a monster-killing whip that even a Belmont would be jealous of. There are dozens of weapons to find, earn, or purchase in Bloodborne, and each one is cooler than the one before. It's such a great motivation to keep you playing and keep going forward. The core of the gameplay is based around 3 concepts: timing, spacing, and stamina management. Every physical action you perform drains your stamina meter, namely sprinting, dodging, and attacking. Now, being caught with an empty stamina bar is a death sentence, so every movement you make has to be calculated. But this is where the advantages of the timing and spacing mechanics come into play. You have complete control over your character and can react quickly to evade any threat. You can then punish enemies by perfectly timing your attacks to strike them before they strike you. It sounds simple in theory, right? But the magic is in the execution of these techniques. Never before have I performed so much mental trigonometry in a game than I have just trying to stay alive in Bloodborne. But that feeling you get when you come out victorious, when you stand there coated in the gore of your former foes trying to slow your hyper-elevated heart rate, it's simply sublime. And it's the reason the game keeps dragging me back again and again to delve deeper into its horrors and brutality. Now, there is a multiplayer component to Bloodborne, and I'll be honest, I really enjoy it. I mean, I really do. You have the option to play cooperatively with friends to either take down mobs or take down bosses, or you can fight to the death in PvP against other enemy players. It sounds great, right? Well, it is when it works. And that's the problem. It doesn't always work as intended. To initiate co-op, one player has to ring a beckoning bell. This consumes 1 insight. This is a separate currency from blood echoes, and insight is gained by killing bosses or enemy players. Now, another player has to be in the same zone as you and also ring what's called a resonant bell, which does not consume insight on the other hand. The idea is that player 2 will be summoned into player 1's world to assist them. The problem is that it is ridiculously difficult to find co-op partners. I've literally sat outside boss rooms for 30 minutes at a time just trying to find one person in the whole wide world who was willing to help me out for a little bit. It's hard to tell if this is a Bloodborne server issue, because I do get kicked off about 1 to 2 times a day from the network, so I know there's an issue there. Or is it a problem with each player's connection? It's hard to tell. But the end result is still the same. There are just not as many co-op experiences as there should be, which transforms the co-op into more random streaks of good luck instead of a core gameplay feature, and that's a huge bummer. Now, there is a password matching feature you can use to connect directly to a friend you want to play with. However, in my experience, it only performs slightly better than the random matchmaking. So I can't really say it's reliable, but at this point, it is your best bet if you want to play cooperative with a friend. But that said, you have to be within 10 levels of each other, so you can't power level anybody. You have to be remotely in the same ballpark when you're playing. I can only hope that Sony and From Software are currently working on a fix to address these issues. So as it stands, Bloodborne is the best single-player experience I've had so far on PS4, but the multiplayer, while very fun and very rewarding, and it's really aren't too many other things like that other than the Souls games, it needs work to get to the same caliber as the campaign. Regardless, if you already have a PS4, Bloodborne is a must-own game. There's simply no other experience like it out there, and I find myself discovering new tactics and new techniques every time I play. People throw the phrase next-gen around a lot these days, but in the many hours I've sunk into Bloodborne, it really is hard to point to a better example of a game that not only looks the part, but plays like a new experience as well. This is one nightmare you are not going to want to wake up from, and you'll want to be revisiting this one again and again for months to come. And with that, I'll pass it back over to the crew for any questions.
All right, Boston, thanks for that review on Bloodborne. Anything additional you want to add to it that you left out of the review?
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. The main thing for me is I felt like I was almost a little bit too harsh on the co-op part of it, because like as soon as like I recorded that, I got online to a tough boss fight, and then all of a sudden 2 people helped me out immediately, and I was like, what is the criteria for this to work? Is this in spite of me? So I mean, it's hard to tell, because the way I describe it, it's such a strange Japanese game design decision on their part to make the multiplayer so vague and mysterious. And I get it if you're a Souls player, you're used to this stuff. But come on, for a next-gen game that's supposed to move PS4s, it's kind of hard to recommend this as a system seller when half the game is really confusing and you have to explain it to someone over like a 10-minute period and then, you know, be this in the same level. within 10 levels of each other, you'd be in the same area. If you die, you got to restart it again. The server issues. There was just so much like crap that kept happening that kept like holding me back from truly like absolutely adoring the game. But luckily, the single player is untouched. And the single player game is a lot of fun. It really is great, especially if you didn't like the Souls games or you're bad at them like I was. This is what is for you. It is like an aggressive, offensive version of Souls. So you're rewarded for being, vicious. You're rewarded for, taking the higher ground. It's always like you never want to hang back. And I really like that because the game is a setup to like, make you overcome your fear because, you'll walk up to one situation the first time and you'll look at that and you'll be like, how could I ever get past this? This is insurmountable. But then through trial and error and tactics, you just realize like you're much more powerful than you believe. It really is a fear kind of limiting thing that's holding you back because you have all the skills you need. You just have to know how to use them. And that's what's so satisfying. And I try to bring up is like it's so rare that I play games anymore where like I'm learning that new set of skills because, if I'm playing a new version of DMC, I'm just playing DMC again. If I'm playing Destiny, I'm just kind of turning on the Halo skills again. It's always throwing back to something I've done before, but that's where Bloodborne like threw me for a loop and why it took so long to get the review out. And it was so freaking hard, and it still is because the game is great. Because I didn't bring this up in the review, but separate from the main campaign, they have these what's called chalice dungeons, and they're basically randomly generated dungeons that you can create by collecting materials in the world. And it'll automatically make like a randomized dungeon just for you. And you can go in then and clear that. And once you're done with it, you can share it either publicly or to send a little code to your friends so they can try your dungeon or invite them in to play your dungeon. And these scale in difficulty. There's 4 levels of them and they have how many levels you go down from the depth. And it's a great little addition because it's a great distraction from the main game. If you get too frustrated, you can go into the dungeons. And, the nice thing is a lot of people have thrown a lot of shade on Bloodborne because the load times are really bad, and they are. It literally is a 40-second load time every time you die, so you have a heck of a lot of time to think about what you did wrong and how to do better next time. But in the dungeons, the load time is drastically reduced to about 15 seconds, so not as punishing, more of a relaxing kind of thing. You can go in and very Zelda-like, you open the door, find the item to activate the boss room, go beat the boss, get a new item, continue on. Great setup. I love the game a lot. I just wish the multiplayer, they had done more work on it. I understand what they were going for, but I just feel like it was a missed opportunity to make it as vague as it was. If it just had a simple, invite the game option, this really would be a system seller. But it's hard to sell this game to people, as I said, when one of the most fun aspects of it, it may or may not work. And there's some times when you're looking for somebody, and you'll say, screw it, I give up. You'll go and try, you'll die, you get frustrated, you'll stop playing for the day, you'll have to come back another time. So once you get over that difficulty hump, it's frustrating. I know. It's like you said, Parris, it's like playing Destiny on Nightfall, and you're like, why is this so freaking hard? But the reward is there. Unlike Destiny, where it's kind of gotten stagnant until the next update, Bloodborne does a great job of constantly giving you either ability to upgrade, new items, new weapons. And that's the cool thing is, have you guys played the Souls games before? Dark Souls or Demon Souls?
No, I haven't.
Okay, well, they have this ability they carried over where basically if you're playing online, you can sometimes see the ghosts or shades of other people in other worlds and what they're doing. The red ones will show how they died, so you can kind of be mindful of where not to be and where not to stand. But the other ones kind of to show you just people running around in general, and you can see their armor and weapons. So it's kind of like that, that World of Warcraft moment where you walk into town for the first time as level 1, and you see the grandiose level 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, and you're like, oh, wow, those guys are so freaking cool. I want to be that cool one day. That's what Bloodborne does for you. It like gives you that incentive to say, look, these guys made it through. If they can do it, you can do it, and you can get the cool stuff they can get. I really like that. Those little subtle pushes to say, don't give up. I mean, keep trying. You'll get better. You really will. And it really does feel amazing to come out on top of a particularly hard fight that you thought you would never beat. So I really like the game a lot. I think, as I said, if you have a PS4, you should go get this game. It is a ton of fun. Single player, I can only hope that they'll patch it soon to make the multiplayer more reliable. But as far as a system seller, not at this point. You'd have to either already like the Souls games and haven't bought a PS4 yet, or you're open-minded and want to try an action game that's not like the other ones out there. Like I said, for Devil May Cry review, that's one of the few action games available besides Bayonetta 2, but that's a completely different breed, and Bloodborne is the opposite spectrum of that. And I like that. There's not too many games available right now with that. I know Dark Souls 2 is on Xbox One now, but if you're a PS4 owner, this is what you should pick up, in my opinion.
Well, I'll just say, well, first of all, great review that you did. And I'll just say that I was watching a Twitch stream. The homie Khalif, he's a host over at the Spawn on Me podcast. He was doing a stream of the game, and I'm just sitting there watching, BSing around with him. But I got to fully admit, it looked too hard for me. I'm not doing it. I don't have the patience. I'm too old now. I can't do that kind of stuff.
I definitely went through a lot of those mental conflicts where I'm like, I'm a hardcore gamer. Damn it. Why can't I get past this? And then I'll invite somebody in and they'll make me like a complete child and just like manhandle whatever I'm stuck on. And I'm just like, oh man, because there's always someone better than you. And I appreciate that, being reminded of that. Because it's good to, feel like you need to improve at something. Because, every time I play Call of Duty or Halo or Battlefield Online, I'm kind of just doing the same things over and over again that I know that I'm good at, either support roles or sniping or driving vehicles. And I'm like, I'm not really changing at all. I'm just playing because it's fun. But I like this because it's fun, frustrating, and I feel like I'm improving my set of skills of the game. So, I could go back and play Demon's Souls and Dark Souls. So I feel like I have a pretty good understanding of how the systems works. But as a first-time person, man, it's brutal. I never thought you could be so stuck on a second boss in a game than in Bloodborne. But I got through, and the whole ride, it's been, I think, like 70 hours later, they have been a blast, and I don't see myself stopping anytime soon, especially if they fix the multiplayer.
Right on. Pete, anything you want to add to that?
No, great review. Like Parris said, I'm kind of tempted now, but hearing you say it's not a system seller,
I just can't. I mean, if the multiplayer was perfect and you could invite people regardless of level, because in my opinion, if someone needs help with the game, you should let them get help with the game. I mean, who are you as a developer to say, oh no, you got to play it the right way, you can't play it all? Come on, man. Video games are fun. Why would anybody want to waste their $60 on a game that they suck at? And they literally some people really do have that skill ceiling they can't overcome. It took me a while to break through my own because I thought I was good at this kind of stuff. Clearly I'm not. I have to relearn. But yeah, I just wish that the multiplayer worked as intended, because when it does work, it's magical, man. I mean, one time, you can ring a bell and activate PvP and you'll be summoned into someone else's world. And one time I was summoned in and there was 3 dudes just waiting for me. And I was like, oh man, I'm about to get my ass kicked. But they were all cool. And one of them was like, bowing to me. So like, oh cool, they're going to fight me one at a time. That's cool. That's respectful. So I start whooping this dude's ass. Immediately, like it was like, a World Star Hip Hop video, this dude comes out of nowhere with this sword and like lands a blow on my face. I'm like, man, I knew it. You can't trust anybody in this game. So I basically I uploaded this video. I'll have to post it on the end of the show. But I basically just ran them around the whole map. And the cool thing is when you're in someone else's world, the enemies don't react to you at all. You're invisible to them. So you can use them as weapons against the other players. You can use the pitfalls as weapons. You can make them activate their own traps. So they can step on a plate and this huge spike log a la Star Wars comes down and just smacks them in the face and kills them. It's so satisfying. I ended up killing all 3 of them systematically one by one, and it was like one of the best feelings I've ever had in a video game. So the magic is there. It just has to work. But there's really nothing else like it, and that's why I love it so much. And that's why I do think it is my favorite PS4 game I've played so far. At least single player. Destiny obviously is a fantastic multiplayer game on PS4. We've all talked about that to death. But single player wise, nothing touches Bloodborne in my opinion.
Okay, those are pretty strong words. I really appreciate it, but just also let you know that you've probably eliminated myself and thousands of other people listening to this going, man, that game too hard. I'm not doing this.
And you play it on the hardest difficulty, correct?
Well, no, there's only one difficulty setting. Thankfully.
There's only one difficulty setting.
Yeah, there's one difficulty setting. Yeah, really hard.
Yes, it is impossible. But I mean, it's hard to describe, but if you give it your best shot, you will find yourself improving. But again, it's a time management thing. If you're not the kind of person that wants to sink the time into a game to get good at it first before you have fun, yes, that is going to be a hump you have to overcome. But I do think, I mean, especially I feel like, if you play Demon's Souls and Dark Souls, that's fine. I understand how some of them don't like Bloodborne because it loses some of the options that those games had because they were more, I guess, in-depth RPGs, and Bloodborne was trying to be more marketable and accessible. But I enjoyed that. I mean, I like the minimalism. I like the lack of storytelling. I love the huge open worlds you explore on the monsters you fight. But again, you have to have that driving mentality behind you. You're like, I am a badass. I will not bow down to anything. And it's kind of like, whatever kills me, I'm not going to stop till I go back and kill it. So if you don't have that drive, it's going to be tough to get over that initial hump. But I think you should at least try it. I mean, even if you have to rent it, at least play the game because I do think it is something special.
Okay, someone else can do it because I'm not. But I appreciate you saying that. But yeah, we're running out of time here, so we should go ahead and wrap this up. Now, normally this is where we would go into, as Danny calls it, fan mail. I just call it listener feedback.
Fan mail at gamertagradio.com.
I'm only going to read one because we've pretty much answered everything else that people have been emailing in this week, which, again, thank you for doing that. Again, that email address is fanmail at gamertagradio.com. Or if you want to leave us a voicemail, that number is 786-273-7GTR, extension 43. But I do want to read this one.
We're gonna have voicemails. We're here, and they touch 43.
Yeah.
There's no extension 43.
But I did want to read this one from David, just to kind of clarify something. So, we were talking about the anime stuff last week, and what game would what anime would we love to see to become a game? And I mentioned Gundam, and I'll just read his email right now. He goes, "What's up, gentlemen? Just wanted to say there is a Gundam game called Gundam Breaker 2. I imported it from Japan." And he says that he's saying that he loves it. It's on PS3 and Vita. I don't speak or read Japanese, but it has enough good English to get you through it, David. And it's a Vita game. Gundam Breaker 2 has an image in the email. So, David, thank you for the email. Really appreciate that. Just to clarify from my standpoint, I was aware that there's been previous Gundam games, on consoles in the past. But what I was trying to say is I would love to see them take a Gundam game and make it just like Titanfall. That's what I would want to see in a Gundam game. I think that'd be an interesting take on it. But, it's funny just on Twitter and even messages I've been getting on PlayStation Network and Xbox Live. People have just been asking me about Cowboy Bebop and just saying, I got to go check it out now. After hearing you talking about it, you seem to really love it. I want to check it out. I will just say again, for the record, one of the best animes, cartoons, stories, movies, TV shows, whatever you want to call it. It's one of the best experiences you can ever have. And Cowboy Bebop has 26 episodes as a series, and there is a movie, which is also fantastic as well. So check it out.
Yes, I'm really envious people haven't seen that yet.
Oh yeah,
that's
Jay.
Amazing. That's like seeing Akira or Ghost in the Shell for the first time for me. I'll never forget those moments as a kid.
Yeah, Jay, who I do remember one with, he's never seen it.
Oh my gosh!
And,
you gotta
and that day I get that email when he goes, "Parris, I just finished it. I'm going to faint. And then when I wake up, we're going to do a podcast on it. It'll probably be like a 5-hour podcast talking about that series."
Awesome.
Yeah, I can't wait. Anything from you before we get out of here?
Just want to wish a happy birthday to our former community manager, David Two Slide, a.k.a. Daft Pib. Shout out to you. Happy birthday, man. We love you.
Happy birthday, man.
Yep. Happy birthday, Daft Pib, baby. And no one will understand it except us.
Nope. No.
But anything else, guys, before we get out of here?
No, I think that's it. I think that covers it. I think we've spoken enough PC, Destiny, and everything else that Danny wouldn't. So it's been a good show. Yeah. I've enjoyed it.
Yeah. I definitely think it's been a good show. And, thank you guys for joining me on this. I hope I didn't screw up the hosting duties too much. Danny will be back next week. Actually, next podcast, I think you guys are really going to like it. And I'll leave it at that. But until then, this has been episode 476 of Gamertag Radio. I'm Parris. That is Poston. That is Pete. And we will see you guys next week.
You're listening to Gamertag Radio. Be sure to like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter. Thanks for listening. Tune in next week.